All right. Hello. Welcome back. I want to make this video today to talk about the question that can come up in practice. Am I doing it right? Has that ever come up for you in your exploration, your experimentation of, this wide array of tools and techniques that we have from the tradition of yoga and the practices that we can do, the mantras, the asanas, the pranayamas, the vinyasas, the kriyas, all these different things, how do I know if I'm doing it right, and how do I know what I'm supposed to be feeling? And so this came up in a one-on-one session that I had just yesterday, and I felt like it would be useful to kind of explore this a little bit. The analogy that I was that was like coming through to help explain this question is like learning to play music, for example, or learning an art or learning a craft. And music is a good example. Even if you're not even if you don't play guitar, then you might still understand this. And the analogy is, so if I've never played guitar before and I start playing guitar, how long is it going to take me to figure out how to make something that sounds good? And without a teacher, I just kind of have to grab the guitar and I have to figure out where to place the fingers, how to strum with the right hand. The right hand is the one that strums the strings, and then how do I place the left hand on the frets to make a chord, for example. A chord is a combination of multiple strings ringing together. And that could take some time if I don't have someone who points out, hey, this is how you play an A minor chord, for example. You put your finger here, you put your other finger here, and you put your third finger here, and you strum these strings, and then boom, that's an A minor chord. So we can think of that like a form, or an asana, for example. Like that one chord is an asana. And that one chord can be explored, can be expressed, can be played in so many different ways. But the form is the form. Do you see what I mean? Are you following this? So with asana, the forms, the shapes, we could see them as ideals, right? They're ideals to strive for. And as I learn that form and then learn other forms, for example, if I'm learning other chords on the guitar, I start to learn how to string those together to make music. So if you're following this example, it's like I learn one form, I learn one asana, and I learn another couple forms. And if I learn enough forms, I learn the structure and I learn the sort of the ideal, then it's a matter of exploring on my own how those forms, how those asanas fit together to create the music of sadhana. And so I really like this analogy because I like to see sadhana as sort of one's art, right? And with art, there's no right or wrong way to do art. Yeah, of course there are forms. Another example would be like, learning to paint or draw. There's lines, there's techniques, there's different ways for the art to take shape, as general principles, general guidelines. But we as artists we get to explore our unique expression of that. And so is there a right or wrong way to do it? Not really. There's an ideal to strive for. There are guidelines and principles, and those guidelines and principles help us to come into our body to feel. And the ultimate goal is just to awaken the artist within, which is the natural intelligence of life that helps reveal, what is our art, what is our expression with our body. And yeah, I think it's a nice way to sort of, if the mind is ever in that state of kind of wondering, am I doing it right, or what am I supposed to be doing? I'm not sure if I'm feeling it. Just keep remembering, the forms they're ideals to strive for, They will reveal certain patterns of thinking, they reveal patterns of how the energy is circulating. And over time, with the practice, just like if I learn the chords on the guitar, the first time I play that chord, it's going to be really clunky. But the more I revisit that chord and the more I become familiar with that, build a relationship with that, and the other forms or the other postures, right? Then all of a sudden I have a vocabulary of expression. You see what I mean? So yeah, think of it as art. Think of sadhana as art. Think of the forms as just guidelines, and to continue to work towards the awakening of the inner intelligence, so that your expression and your art, learning how to express through the body, learning how the body wants to express. And this is what I think is the really cool thing about all of these practices, is it helps us to come into a relationship to, what am I expressing currently in my body? How is my body expressing? And then how to increase its ability to express. So there you have it. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you guys later. Boom.